All right, welcome to Mission 5 mini lesson. It's going to start to get a little bit trickier today. We're going to be using all of our rules. We saw in Mission 4 that if we have brackets, we need to remove those using the distributive property. And today, we've got the second rule. We've got all of our rules now. And that's to use inverse operations to remove all the variables from one side of the equation. We're going to start to see more than one variable in our equations now, and that's going to happen in one of two different ways. I'm going to proceed on with the slides now, so if you're writing this down in your Learn It books, you might want to pause and finish writing in the notes before you go on. So let's look at our equation. Here we've got an equation where I actually have two variables. We have 4c plus 6 minus 2c equals 28. In this case we have two variables, but they're both on one side of the equation. And if this happens, what we want to do is think back to those rules where we looked at combining like terms. And we want to maybe rearrange it so that it's a little bit easier to think of. So it's going to be maybe easier to think of this as being three separate parts here on the left-hand side. We've got 4c, we've got a plus 6 or a positive 6, and minus 2c or a negative 2c. Remember, the sign in front of the number or variable goes with it. And I can use this to now maybe rearrange that and switch around that 6 and minus 2c so that we get a slightly different equation. Means the same thing, but this might make it a little easier to combine. Now I can see that it's 4c minus 2c and then plus 6. And 4c minus 2c, if I have 4c's and I take away 2, I'll be left with 2c plus 6 equals, in this case, 28. So by recombining that first equation, we combine the like terms, and now I get an equation that looks very much like Mission 3. So I need to go on to now step number 3, which is to remove the adding 6 by subtracting 6 from both sides. Those 6's will cancel out, and I'll be left with 2c is equal to 28 minus 6, which is 22. Now I need to do the inverse of 2 times c, that's dividing by 2. Whatever we do to one side of the equation, we do to the other. And when those cancel out, we're left with c is equal to 11. And that's our final answer. But sometimes we're going to get variables that happen on both sides of the equation. For instance, negative 8n minus 4 is equal to 2n plus 26. Now this is going to get us into a little bit of a problem because we can't just divide by 8n or 2 and get rid of those variables. We're going to need to get all of the variables on one side of the equation. So before we actually remove the minus 4 or the negative 8 times n, we want to do a step where we remove from one side the variable. So we're actually going to do the inverse of 2n, or plus 2n on one side, and we're going to subtract that variable from the right side. Remember, if I do something to one side, I have to do it to the other. We've been moving things, usually starting on the left side, and then doing it to the right side. Now we're actually going to be starting on the right side and removing the variable, and then also doing that to the left side. Don't forget to do the same thing to both sides. We can't just cross out and cancel out the 2n and not also take it away from the other side. And when I do that, on the left-hand side, I have 8n minus 2n. If I have a negative 8n and I take away 2 more n's, I'm actually going to have negative 10n, and I still have subtract 4. That stays the same. Now on the right-hand side, I've canceled out the 2n by taking those 2 away, so that now all I have is 26. By doing that step, again, I'm now back to a mission 3 type of equation, where I now can look at adding 4 to both sides in order to cancel those out. And I'm going to have now, after I cancel those, negative 10n, and there's my cat, equal to 30. 26 plus 4 is 30. The inverse of negative 10 times n is dividing both sides by negative 10. And when I cancel out the negative 10s, I'm left with just n, and that is equal to 30 divided by negative 10, which is going to be a negative number, 1 positive, 1 negative, and it's negative 3. Good luck with mission 5. We're almost to the end. Mission 6 is our last one.